Noah Xander's stomach growled loudly as he watched his 5-year-old son, Ethan, press his small face against the toy shop window, eyes wide with wonder at the shiny red fire truck on display. It was the third time this week they'd walked past the store on their way home from kindergarten, and each time, Ethan's longing grew more palpable. "Daddy, look. The firefighter truck has a ladder that goes up and down and real lights." Ethan bounced on his toes, his backpack jiggling with each excited hop. Noah knelt beside his son, his knees protesting slightly. At 32, he shouldn't feel this old, but working 2 jobs while raising a child alone had a way of adding invisible years to his body. "It's pretty amazing, buddy," he agreed, ruffling Ethan's sandy brown hair so like his own. "My birthday's coming," Ethan said hopefully, holding up 5 fingers then adding a 6th. "I'll be this many. Do you think, maybe?" His voice trailed off, but his eyes remained fixed on the toy. Noah felt the familiar tightness in his chest, the sensation that had become his constant companion, since becoming a single father 3 years ago after his wife's car accident. His construction job barely covered rent and utilities for their small apartment, and the evening maintenance work at the local community center helped with groceries and Ethan's school needs. There was never much left over, especially not for a premium toy that cost nearly a week's worth of lunch money. "We'll see, champ," he said, the standard parent response when no would crush a child's spirit, but yes would be a lie. "Come on, we need to get home. Mac and cheese night, remember?" As they walked away, Noah mentally calculated what he could possibly sacrifice to make his son's birthday special. His lunch budget for the next 2 weeks might do it, if he was careful. He could bring coffee from home instead of getting it at the construction site canteen. He could eat less. It wouldn't be the first time. What Noah didn't notice as they departed was the sleek black Tesla parked across the street, or its driver a woman who had been watching the entire exchange with unexpected interest. Zara Reynolds adjusted her designer sunglasses and tapped manicured fingers against the steering wheel. She had only stopped to take a business call, pulling over in this unfamiliar neighborhood decidedly not her usual Manhattan financial district, but something about the man and child had caught her attention. The tenderness between them, perhaps, or maybe the raw love visible even from a distance. At 36, Zara had built her investment firm from scratch into a powerhouse that managed over $2 billion in assets. Her life was meetings, strategy sessions, and first-class flights to wherever money needed managing. What it didn't include was family moments like the one she'd just witnessed. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the strange feeling tugging at her. She had a meeting to get to. Her driver had called in sick, forcing her to drive herself to this city neighborhood for an unusual face-to-face with a potential client who refused to come to her office. Now she was running late. Still, she found herself glancing in the direction the father and son had gone before finally putting the car in drive and pulling away. Noah's alarm blared at 4:30 the next morning. He silenced it quickly, not wanting to wake Ethan, who would still have another 2 hours of sleep before school. He dressed in the dark, pulling on worn jeans and a faded flannel shirt that had seen better days, but was still clean and presentable enough for construction work. In the kitchen, he automatically reached for the loaf of bread to make his lunch sandwiches before stopping. If he was serious about saving for that fire truck, the sacrifices started today. He put the bread back and instead made only Ethan's lunch a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, apple slices, and a small juice box. "Just coffee for me," he muttered to himself, filling his thermos with the strong black brew that would have to sustain him until dinner. His stomach protested at the thought, but the memory of Ethan's hopeful face strengthened his resolve. He scribbled a note for Mrs. Gonzalez next door, who would check on Ethan at 6:30 and walk him to school as she did every morning, then slipped quietly from the apartment into the still dark morning. By noon, Noah's stomach was screaming at him, and he was beginning to question his plan. He sat apart from his coworkers during lunch break, sipping water and pretending to be deeply engaged with his phone so no one would notice he wasn't eating. "Xander, get over here," called Frank, his supervisor. "Got a special job, came in last minute. Clients paying triple to get it done today." "You're my best guy for detailed finish work." Noah tucked his phone away and stood, grateful for the distraction. "What's the job?" "Some fancy office renovation downtown. Rich investment lady wants her conference room redone before some big meeting tomorrow. Materials are already there. Just need you to install the custom shelving and do the trim work." "Downtown," Noah frowned. "But I've got to pick up Ethan at triple pay, Xander," Frank said meaningfully. "And I'll make sure you're done by school pickup. That's enough to make it worth your while, trust me." Noah's empty stomach seemed to make the decision for him. Triple pay for an afternoon's work could mean the fire truck and still having lunch money. "I'm in." 3 hours later, Noah was carefully installing the last section of custom walnut shelving in what had to be the most opulent office he'd ever seen. The view alone, sweeping across the Manhattan skyline, probably cost more per square foot than his entire apartment building. "Make sure those are perfectly level," came a crisp female voice from behind him. Noah turned to see a woman in a tailored charcoal suit watching him with assessing eyes. Her dark hair was pulled back in a sleek ponytail, emphasizing sharp cheekbones and intelligent eyes. She carried herself with the unmistakable confidence of someone who was used to being in charge. "They are," he answered, gesturing to the level balanced on the shelf. "To within 1/10 of a degree. I don't do sloppy work." Something like surprise flickered across her face before she nodded. "Good. Most people cut corners when they think no one's watching." "Not my style," Noah replied, returning to his work. "Besides, someone's always watching, even if it's just yourself in the mirror later." She was quiet for so long that he thought she might have left, but when he glanced back, she was still there, studying him with a curious expression. "Do I know you?" she asked suddenly. "You seem familiar." Noah shook his head. "I doubt it. Unless you hang around construction sites or the community center on Parkside Avenue." "Parkside," she repeated softly. "I was in that neighborhood yesterday, a toy shop." Noah's hands stilled momentarily on the screwdriver. "Might have been me and my son walking past." "He's got a thing for a fire truck in the window there." Recognition dawned in her eyes. "It was you, with the little boy who wanted the toy." Noah felt oddly exposed, as if this stranger had witnessed a private moment between him and Ethan, which he supposed she had. "That's us." "He's got a birthday coming up." She seemed about to say something else when her phone rang. She checked it and frowned. "I need to take this. Please finish up here. It looks excellent so far." As she walked away, Noah realized he'd been talking to Zara Reynolds herself, the CEO, whose name was emblazoned on the door. He'd just had a casual conversation with a woman whose net worth was probably more than he'd earn in 10 lifetimes. Shaking his head at the bizarre encounter, he returned to his work, trying to ignore the increasing lightheadedness from missing both breakfast and lunch. The sooner he finished, the sooner he could pick up Ethan and perhaps grab something to eat. Zara ended her call and stood by the window of her private office, watching the skyline but thinking about the carpenter working in her conference room. Noah. That was the name on his work badge. The same man she'd seen yesterday with his son, looking at that toy fire truck with such a mixture of longing and resignation. There had been something compelling about that moment, something raw and honest that had stuck with her through her meetings yesterday and into today. Seeing him here felt like an odd coincidence, or perhaps something more. She found herself walking back to the conference room, arriving just as Noah was packing up his tools. "All finished," he said, gesturing to the completed installation. "Just need your sign-off, and I'll be out of your hair." Zara examined the work, running her hand along the smooth walnut shelving. "It's perfect," she admitted. "Better than the last 3 contractors we hired." "Thanks," He glanced at his watch. If there's nothing else, I need to get going to pick up my son from school. Of course. She hesitated, then asked, "The fire truck, is that for his birthday?" Noah looked surprised at her question but nodded. "Yeah, he turns 6 next week. Been saving up for it." As if on cue, his stomach growled loudly in the quiet room. A flush of embarrassment colored his face. "Sorry about that." "Busy day. Missed lunch." Zara studied him more carefully, noticing the thermos in his bag that likely contained only coffee, if her guess was right. Something about his expression when he mentioned saving for the toy clicked into place. "You're skipping meals to save for his present," she stated rather than asked. Noah's jaw tightened defensively. "I'm just prioritizing. That's what parents do." "I didn't mean," Zara stopped herself, realizing she'd struck a nerve. "That was presumptuous of me. I apologize." The sincerity in her voice seemed to surprise him, and his expression softened slightly. "No harm done. I should get going. Let me give you a bonus," she said impulsively. "For the quality work and quick turnaround." Noah slung his tool bag over his shoulder. "The company will bill you our premium rate as agreed. I'm just the guy who does the work." "But you won't see much of that premium, will you?" "That's not your problem, Miss Reynolds." The directness of his response caught Zara off guard. Most people she encountered either wanted something from her or were intimidated by her. This man was neither seeking her favor nor cowed by her status. "What if I want to make it my problem?" she found herself saying. He regarded her with a mixture of confusion and wariness. "Why would you?" It was a fair question, and one Zara wasn't entirely sure how to answer. Why did she care about this stranger and his son? Why had the image of them at that toy store window followed her? "Because sometimes life is unfairly hard on good people," she finally said. "And sometimes those who have more can balance the scales a little." Noah's expression remained guarded. "I appreciate the thought, but we're doing fine. Ethan's got everything he needs." "But not everything he wants," Zara pointed out softly. "Like that fire truck." For a moment, something vulnerable flickered across Noah's face, a fleeting glimpse of the weight he carried. Then it was gone, replaced by quiet dignity. "He'll get his fire truck. I've got it covered." He checked his watch again. "I really do have to go. It was nice meeting you, Miss Reynolds." As he turned to leave, Zara made a split-second decision. "Wait, at least let me call you a car to take you to your son's school as a thank you for the rush job." Noah hesitated, visibly torn between pride and practicality. Practicality won. "That would actually help a lot, thank you." 10 minutes later, Noah slid into the back of a sleek black car that probably cost more than his annual salary. The driver confirmed Ethan's school address, and they pulled smoothly into traffic. As the car navigated through Manhattan streets, Noah found himself thinking about Zara Reynolds. There had been something unexpected beneath her polished exterior, a hint of genuine concern that seemed at odds with the cold efficiency her office projected. He dismissed the thought. Women like Zara Reynolds didn't exist in the same world as men like him. Their brief intersection today was just a random blip in the universe, meaning nothing and going nowhere. He couldn't have been more wrong. Zara sat at her desk, unable to focus on the quarterly reports she should be reviewing. Instead, her mind kept returning to Noah Xander and the glimpse of his life she'd witnessed over the past 2 days. On impulse, she picked up her phone and called her assistant. "Melissa, find out everything you can about the carpenter who was just here, Noah Xander. And I need the address of that toy store on Parkside Avenue." "The toy store?" Melissa echoed, confusion evident in her voice. "Yes," Zara confirmed, surprising herself with how certain she felt. "There's a fire truck I need to buy." The next morning, Noah was back on his regular construction site, working on framing for a new apartment building. His stomach had settled into a dull ache that he could mostly ignore, especially when he kept himself busy with physically demanding work. "Xander." Frank called up to him from the ground level. "Package for you." Noah frowned as he climbed down the scaffolding. He wasn't expecting any deliveries, especially not at work. Frank handed him a small, expensive-looking gift bag. Came by courier, must be something special. Noah opened the bag cautiously and found a sealed envelope and a wrapped protein bar. The note inside the envelope reads simply, "A proper craftsman needs proper fuel. The bar is just to tide you over until lunch. ZR." Noah stared at the note, then at the premium protein bar that probably cost 4 times what he'd normally spend on such an item. How had she known where he was working today? And why was she sending him food? Despite his confusion, his empty stomach made the decision for him. He unwrapped the bar and took a grateful bite, the mixture of nuts, chocolate, and protein immediately easing his hunger pangs. As he chewed, he contemplated what to make of Zara Reynolds' gesture. It was thoughtful but also slightly unsettling. He wasn't a charity case. At lunchtime, another courier arrived, this time with a proper meal from an upscale deli, a substantial sandwich, fruit, and a bottle of some fancy vitamin water he'd never heard of. The note this time read, "Fair trade, you gave up your lunch for something important. Let me replace it just for today. ZR." His co-workers whistled and made jokes about his rich girlfriend, which Noah waved off with good humor while privately wondering what exactly was happening. Part of him wanted to refuse the food on principle, but another part, the practical parent who needed strength to care for Ethan, accepted the gift for what it appeared to be. A kind gesture from someone who could easily afford it. He found himself wondering what Zara was doing right now in her high-rise office with its perfect view. The contrast between their lives couldn't be more stark, yet somehow she had noticed him. Not just as a worker, but as a person, a father trying his best. When Noah picked up Ethan from kindergarten that afternoon, his son was vibrating with excitement. "Daddy, Daddy, you won't believe what happened today." Ethan bounced alongside him, practically skipping. "What happened, buddy?" Noah asked, smiling at his son's enthusiasm. "A lady came to school and talked to Miss Patel, and then they called me to the office, and the lady had the fire truck. The exact same one from the window, and she said it was an early birthday present from a secret friend." Noah stopped walking, stunned. What lady?" "She was really pretty and had dark hair and a ponytail, and she wore fancy clothes. She said she knew you and that you work very hard and that I'm very lucky." Ethan tugged at Noah's hand. "Can we go home and open it? Miss Patel said I couldn't open it at school because it might make the other kids jealous." Noah's mind raced. Zara Reynolds had gone to Ethan's school and given him the fire truck. How had she even known which school he attended? And why would she do this after he'd explicitly told her he had the situation handled? "Ethan," he said carefully, "did this lady tell you her name?" "Miss Z, she said I could call her." Ethan pulled at his hand again. "Can we go home now, please, Daddy?" Noah nodded absently, letting Ethan lead him toward their apartment, his thoughts in turmoil. On one hand, he was touched by Zara's generosity and the joy it had brought his son. On the other, he felt undermined as a parent and uncomfortable with the idea that she had taken matters into her own hands after he'd made it clear he didn't want help. When they reached their apartment, Ethan raced to his room and emerged clutching the toy fire truck, the exact model from the store window, complete with extending ladder, flashing lights, and authentic siren sounds. "Look, Daddy, it's even better up close." Ethan pressed a button, and the truck emitted a realistic siren wail as the lights flashed. This is the best birthday ever. Watching his son's face light up with pure joy, Noah couldn't bring himself to be angry. Whatever Zara's motivations, she had made Ethan incredibly happy. Still, he needed to talk to her about boundaries. She couldn't just insert herself into their lives like this, no matter how well-intentioned. But as he reached for his phone to find a way to contact her, he realized he had no idea how to reach Zara Reynolds. She had his information, clearly, but he had no direct line to her. The power imbalance of the situation only added to his discomfort. For the moment, he focused on Ethan, getting down on the floor to play fire rescue with the new truck. His son's happiness was what mattered most, and he could sort out his complicated feelings about Zara Reynolds later. Across town, Zara sat in her car outside the toy store where she'd first seen Noah and Ethan. She wasn't entirely sure why she'd returned to this spot, or what she was doing involving herself in the lives of strangers. The delight on Ethan's face when she'd presented him with the fire truck had warmed something inside her that had been cold for a very long time. The boy had been so genuinely thrilled, thanking her profusely and telling her all about how his daddy was the best builder in the whole world. Yet she also recognized that Noah might not appreciate her intervention. She had, essentially, overridden his parental decision after he'd made it clear he wanted to handle things himself. The realization made her uncomfortable. She was used to taking charge and solving problems, but this wasn't a business deal. These were people's lives, their pride and relationships. Her phone chimed with a calendar reminder for a dinner meeting with potential investors. With a sigh, she started the car, resolving to find a way to apologize to Noah for overstepping, even as part of her couldn't bring herself to regret bringing such happiness to a child who clearly deserved it. The next day, Noah arrived at the community center for his evening maintenance shift to find the director, Patricia, waiting for him with an odd expression. "Noah, you didn't tell me you knew Zara Reynolds," she said without preamble. He stiffened. "I don't really." "She hired me for a carpentry job at her office." "Why?" "Because she just made a substantial donation to our after-school program, and she specifically mentioned your name." Patricia handed him an envelope. "She left this for you." Noah took the envelope, a sense of foreboding washing over him. Inside was a business card with Zara's direct number handwritten on the back and a brief note. "I owe you an apology for overstepping. Call me when you have a moment. ZR." He stared at the card, conflicting emotions warring within him. Part of him wanted to ignore it, to draw a firm boundary and remove this complication from his life. Another part was undeniably curious about this woman who seemed determined to connect with him and Ethan. She mentioned donating to the new scholarship fund for single parents, Patricia continued, watching him closely. Said something about making sure children like Ethan have access to after-school care when parents are working multiple jobs. Noah's head snapped up. "She said that specifically." "About Ethan," Patricia nodded. "She seemed to know quite a bit about your situation. Is there something going on I should know about?" "No," Noah said quickly. "Nothing like that. We just met recently, briefly." "Well, whatever impression you made, it was significant enough for her to donate $50,000 to our program." Patricia raised an eyebrow. "That kind of money changes lives around here, Noah." He ran a hand through his hair, increasingly bewildered by Zara Reynolds and her actions. "I need to get to work. The gym floor needs buffing before tomorrow's basketball tournament." As he worked that evening, methodically guiding the floor buffer across the gleaming wood, Noah's thoughts kept returning to Zara and her note. She wanted to apologize. That counted for something, didn't it? At least she recognized that she'd crossed a line. By the time his shift ended, he'd made his decision. He pulled out the business card and his phone, hesitating only briefly before dialing the number. He expected to reach an assistant or answering service, but instead, Zara herself answered on the second ring. Zara Reynolds. "It's Noah Xander," he said, suddenly unsure what to say next. "Noah." Her voice warmed noticeably. "Thank you for calling. I wasn't sure you would." "I'm not sure I should have," he admitted. "You've been very generous, Miss Reynolds. Zara, please." "Zara," he corrected himself. "But I need to understand why. Why are you doing all this? The food, the toy, the donation to the community center. You don't know me. You don't know Ethan." There was a pause before she answered. "I'm not entirely sure myself," she said, her honesty surprising him. "Something about seeing you with your son that day. It stayed with me. The way you looked at that toy truck, knowing what it would mean to him, but also knowing what it would cost you." "So this is pity," Noah couldn't keep the edge from his voice. "No," she replied firmly. Recognition, maybe, of someone who understands what really matters, who makes sacrifices without complaint. Another pause. It's rare in my world. Noah leaned against the wall of the now empty community center, trying to process her words. I appreciate that, but I need to be clear about something. I can take care of my son. We're not destitute. I was going to get him that fire truck. I know, Zara said softly. And that's why I need to apologize. I overstepped, and I'm sorry. I was so focused on what I could do that I didn't consider how it might feel for you. That was presumptuous and disrespectful. Her apology was straightforward and sincere, no excuses or justifications. Noah found himself unexpectedly disarmed. Thank you for saying that, he said finally. Ethan loves the truck, by the way. He hasn't put it down since yesterday. I'm glad, she replied, and he could hear the smile in her voice. He's a wonderful boy, very proud of his daddy. A comfortable silence fell between them, broken eventually by Zara. Noah, would you let me make this up to you properly? Dinner, perhaps, just to talk. The invitation caught him completely off guard. Dinner with you? Is that so shocking? There was a hint of amusement in her tone. Kind of, yeah. He found himself smiling despite his reservations. People like you don't usually have dinner with people like me. Perhaps that's the problem with people like me, she countered. We miss out on meeting real people living real lives. Noah considered her offer. A dinner couldn't hurt, could it? Just a conversation between two adults, and maybe it would help him understand this puzzling woman who had dropped into his life so unexpectedly. All right, he agreed. Dinner, but nothing fancy, and I need to arrange childcare for Ethan. Of course. Would tomorrow evening work? Around 7. They settled on the details, a moderately upscale restaurant that wouldn't require him to buy new clothes, but was still nice enough to be special. Noah hung up feeling as though he'd just agreed to something more significant than a simple dinner, though he couldn't quite articulate why. When he got home, Ethan was already asleep at Mrs. Gonzalez's apartment next door. She waved away his apologies for being late. That boy is no trouble, she assured him. He showed me his new fire truck and told me all about the pretty lady who brought it. You have a girlfriend now, Noah? No, he said quickly. Just a new friend, maybe, Mrs. Gonzalez gave him a knowing smile, but said nothing more as he gathered up his sleeping son to carry him home. As Noah tucked Ethan into bed, gently removing the fire truck from his grip to place it on the nightstand, he wondered what exactly he was getting himself into with Zara Reynolds. She lived in a world of wealth and power he could barely imagine, while he struggled to keep up with kindergarten art projects and utility bills. Yet something about her had reached through those differences to connect with him, had seen him, really seen him, in a way few people bothered to anymore. That alone made her intriguing enough to risk a dinner. The next evening found Noah standing outside Riverside Bistro, having splurged on a trim at the barber shop and wearing his one decent outfit, dark jeans, a navy button-down shirt, and the leather jacket his late wife had given him for their last anniversary. He'd left Ethan with Mrs. Gonzalez, who had been all too delighted to keep him overnight, giving Noah knowing winks that he pretended not to see. He spotted Zara the moment she stepped out of her car. She dressed down by her standards, wearing elegant black pants and a simple silk blouse rather than the formal business attire he'd seen her in previously. Even in this more casual look, she exuded confidence and grace that made heads turn as she approached. Noah, she greeted him with a genuine smile. Thank you for coming. Thanks for the invitation, he replied, suddenly feeling the vast gulf between their worlds despite her efforts to bridge it, though I'm still not entirely sure why I'm here. Because I'd like to know more about the man who would skip meals to buy his son a toy, she said simply. Shall we? The restaurant was busy but not overcrowded, the atmosphere warm and inviting without being intimidating. Their table was in a quiet corner that afforded them privacy without feeling isolated. Once they were seated and had ordered drinks, a craft beer for him and a glass of red wine for her, Noah found himself unsure how to begin. Zara solved the problem for him. "Tell me about Ethan," she said. "He seems like an extraordinary child." Noah's face softened immediately. "He is. He's smart and kind and resilient. After his mom died, I worried about how he'd cope, but kids are amazing that way. They grieve differently than adults. He still asks about her, keeps her photo by his bed, but he's also able to find joy everywhere." "You've done a remarkable job with him," Zara observed. "It can't be easy, raising a child alone while working 2 jobs. Noah shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "You do what you have to do for your kids. I'm not special that way." "I think you're selling yourself short," she said. "Many people would have taken easier paths, even if it meant less time with their child. You've chosen the harder road to be there for him. What about you?" Noah asked, eager to shift the spotlight. "Any family," a shadow passed over Zara's face. "Not anymore. My parents died in a plane crash when I was in college. I was an only child. There were distant relatives, but no one close." "I'm sorry," Noah said, recognizing the familiar pain of loss in her eyes. "That must have been incredibly difficult." It was. She took a sip of her wine. "I threw myself into building my business after that. Work became my family in a way. Not the healthiest coping mechanism, but effective at keeping the loneliness at bay." "And now," he asked, "is work still your whole life?" Zara met his gaze directly. "Until very recently, I would have said yes without hesitation, but lately I've been questioning that choice." "Why the change?" She seemed to consider her answer carefully. "Seeing you with Ethan that day, it reminded me that there's more to life than quarterly reports and investment strategies. There's love and sacrifice and simple joys, like a child's excitement over a toy." Their conversation paused as the waiter brought their meals a perfectly grilled steak for Noah and sea bass for Zara. As they ate, the initial awkwardness between them gradually dissolved, replaced by a surprising ease. They discovered unexpected common ground. Both loved classic films, had a weakness for chocolate desserts, and harbored secret dreams of traveling to Japan someday. "So, how did you end up in construction?" Zara asked as they shared a chocolate lava cake for dessert. "I studied architectural design in college, actually," Noah replied. "Had dreams of designing homes that would bring families together. Then life happened. Melissa got pregnant with Ethan. We got married. I needed steady income rather than the uncertain path of a fledgling designer. Construction paid the bills and still let me work with my hands, creating things." "Do you still design?" Zara seemed genuinely interested. Noah hesitated. "Sometimes, late at night when Ethan's asleep. I sketch ideas for houses, furniture, nothing serious." "I'd love to see them sometime," she said, surprising him. "They're just doodles, really." "I doubt that," Zara said with a knowing smile. "You don't strike me as a man who does anything halfway." The comment, delivered casually but with warmth, created an unexpected flutter in Noah's chest. He realized with a start that he was enjoying himself, truly enjoying himself for the first time in years. Zara was intelligent, thoughtful, and surprisingly easy to talk to once you got past her intimidating exterior. As the evening drew to a close, they lingered over coffee, neither seeming eager to end their conversation. "Thank you for tonight," Zara said finally. "It's been refreshing to talk with someone who doesn't want anything from me." Noah smiled. "What could I possibly want?" "You've already bought my son the toy of his dreams and donated enough money to save the community center's after-school program. You'd be surprised how rare it is to meet people who aren't constantly angling for something," she replied, a hint of sadness in her voice. "Money changes how people see you. Everyone becomes a potential opportunity or threat." "That sounds lonely," Noah observed quietly. "It is." She met his gaze, "which is why tonight has been so special." As they walked out of the restaurant, Noah found himself reluctant to say goodbye. Despite the vast differences in their circumstances, he felt a connection to Zara that was both unexpected and undeniable. "Can I drive you home?" she offered. "Thanks, but I'm good with the subway," he replied, not wanting her to see his modest apartment building. Zara nodded, respecting his boundary. "I've enjoyed this, Noah, more than I expected to. So have I," he admitted. "Would you consider doing it again? Perhaps with Ethan next time. There's a children's museum with a special firefighter exhibit that he might enjoy." The invitation caught Noah by surprise. She wanted to see him again and meet Ethan properly. The idea both excited and unnerved him. What was happening here was this friendship. Something more, "I'd like that," he found himself saying. Ethan would too. As they said their goodbyes, Zara impulsively leaned forward and kissed his cheek. The brief contact sent a jolt through Noah that he hadn't felt in years, a reminder that beneath the hardworking single dad was still a man with needs and desires he'd long suppressed. "Good night, Noah," she said softly. "Good night, Zara." As he watched her drive away, Noah touched his cheek where her lips had been, wondering if he was setting himself up for disappointment by allowing himself to feel this spark. Women like Zara Reynolds didn't end up with men like him. That was just reality. But for the first time in years, he found himself hoping that reality might be more flexible than he'd believed. The next week brought a flurry of texts between Noah and Zara, arranging their museum outing with Ethan. Noah was surprised by how natural it felt to communicate with her, how quickly they developed inside jokes and shared observations. Despite their different backgrounds, there was an ease to their connection that defied explanation. On Saturday morning, Ethan was bouncing off the walls with excitement, both about the museum and meeting Miss Z again properly. "Is she your girlfriend, Daddy?" he asked innocently as Noah helped him button his shirt. "No, buddy, she's just a friend," Noah replied, though the answer felt incomplete somehow. "But she gives presents like Mommy used to," Ethan persisted. "And she makes you smile like in the old pictures with Mommy." Noah paused, struck by his son's observation. Had he been smiling more lately? Perhaps he had. "Miss Z is a nice person who wants to be friends with both of us," he explained carefully. "But that doesn't mean she's going to be like Mommy." Ethan considered this, his small face serious. But could she be? Someday. Tyler at school has a step-mom now because his daddy found a new person to love after his first mommy went to heaven. The innocent question hit Noah like a punch to the gut. He'd been so focused on providing Ethan with stability that he'd never really considered what his son might want in terms of a complete family again. "That's complicated, buddy," he said finally. "Making someone part of your family is a very big decision. It has to be the right person, and both people have to love each other very much." "Do you love Miss Z?" Ethan asked with a child's directness. "I just met her," Noah said gently. "People need to know each other for a long time before they can love each other the way mamas and daddies do." This seemed to satisfy Ethan, who quickly moved on to wondering if the museum would have real fire hoses he could touch. Noah was grateful for his son's short attention span, even as Ethan's questions lingered in his mind. When Zara arrived to pick them up, having insisted on driving rather than meeting at the museum, she was dressed casually in jeans, a soft sweater, and minimal makeup. Noah was struck by how different she looked from the polished executive he'd first met, though no less beautiful. If anything, this more relaxed version of Zara was even more attractive, more real. Ethan, naturally outgoing, took to Zara immediately. Within minutes of getting into her car, he was chattering away about his school, his fire truck, and his best friend Tyler's new puppy. Zara listened with genuine interest, asking questions that showed she was truly paying attention to his stories. "And my daddy makes the best pancakes in the world," Ethan was saying. "He makes them in shape sometimes. Last week he made one that looked just like a fire hat." "That sounds wonderful," Zara replied, catching Noah's eye in the rearview mirror with a warm smile. "Your daddy is very talented. He can fix anything too," Ethan continued proudly. "When Mrs. Gonzalez's sink broke and water went everywhere, Daddy fixed it even though it was nighttime." Noah felt a flush of embarrassment at his son's effusive praise. "Ethan thinks I'm some kind of superhero," he said to Zara. "The reality is much less impressive." "I don't know," Zara replied. "From what I've seen, Ethan's assessment seems pretty accurate." The Children's Museum was bustling with weekend visitors, but Ethan was too excited to be bothered by the crowds. The special firefighter exhibit was everything he'd hoped for, complete with child-sized gear to try on, a pole to slide down, and a miniature fire engine that kids could climb into. Noah watched with a full heart as Zara helped Ethan into the tiny firefighter jacket, adjusting the plastic helmet on his head with careful attention. There was a natural warmth to her interactions with Ethan that surprised him, nothing forced or artificial about it. "Daddy, Miss Z, look at me. I'm a real firefighter," Ethan called from atop the miniature engine, beaming with pride. "The bravest firefighter I've ever seen," Zara called back, snapping a photo with her phone. As they moved through the exhibits, Noah found himself repeatedly touched by Zara's thoughtfulness. She got down on Ethan's level to explain things, listened patiently to his endless questions, and never once checked her phone or seemed distracted by the business empire she'd left behind for the day. During a quieter moment, while Ethan was absorbed in a water play station with other children, Zara turned to Noah. "He's extraordinary," she said softly. "So curious and kind. You've done an amazing job with him, Noah." "He makes it easy," Noah replied. "He's got his mom's heart big enough to love the whole world." "Do you talk about her with him often?" Zara asked carefully. Noah nodded. "Every day, in some way or another. I never want him to forget her, even though he was only 2 when she died. We look at photos, tell stories." "He has her eyes, her laugh." "That's beautiful," Zara said, keeping her memory alive for him. "It's getting easier," Noah admitted. "At first, every mention of Melissa felt like reopening a wound. Now it's more like touching a scar. It still marks you, but the pain isn't as sharp." Zara's hand found his, squeezing gently in understanding. The simple gesture of support meant more to Noah than he could express. By the time they left the museum, Ethan was pleasantly exhausted, falling asleep in his car seat within minutes of starting the drive home. In the quiet car, with Ethan's soft breathing as background, Noah and Zara fell into comfortable conversation. "Thank you for today," Noah said. "You didn't have to spend your Saturday with us, but it meant a lot to Ethan, to both of us." "I should be thanking you," Zara replied. "This is the most fun I've had in. I can't even remember how long. My Saturdays are usually filled with catch-up work or charity galas where everyone is networking rather than actually enjoying themselves." "Hard to imagine that life," Noah mused. "My Saturdays usually involve laundry, grocery shopping, and trying to find free activities that will burn off some of Ethan's endless energy." "And which would you rather have?" Zara asked, glancing at him briefly before returning her eyes to the road. "Mine," Noah answered without hesitation. "Every time," Zara smiled. "I think I would too, actually." When they arrived at Noah's apartment building, he hesitated before inviting her up. The contrast between her world and his had never felt more stark than in this moment, with her luxury car parked on his decidedly modest street. "Would you like to come up for coffee?" he offered finally. "Fair warning, our place isn't anything fancy." "I'd love to," Zara replied simply. Carrying the still sleeping Ethan, Noah led Zara up 3 flights of stairs to their apartment. As he unlocked the door, he found himself seeing their home through her eyes: the mismatched furniture, the walls that needed fresh paint, the toys neatly organized but still dominating much of the living room space. But Zara's focus wasn't on any of that. Instead, she moved immediately to the wall of framed drawings, Ethan's artwork, lovingly displayed alongside Noah's architectural sketches. "These are yours?" she asked, studying one particularly detailed house design. "Just hobby stuff," he said, laying Ethan gently on the couch and covering him with a throw blanket. "This isn't hobby stuff, Noah," Zara said with conviction. "These are professional quality designs, innovative, thoughtful, with incredible attention to how families actually live." Her genuine admiration of his work caught him off guard. "I never had the chance to do anything with them. Life took a different turn." "Life has a way of doing that," Zara agreed, "but sometimes it circles back around with new opportunities." As Noah made coffee in the small kitchen, Zara continued exploring the apartment, taking in the small details that made it a home Ethan's height marks penciled on the doorframe. The bookshelf filled with well-loved children's books, the plants thriving on the windowsill. "I like your home," she said when he handed her a mug of coffee. "It feels alive, lived in, loved." "It's nothing like what you're used to," Noah pointed out. "That's precisely why I like it." She took a sip of her coffee. "My apartment is straight out of a design magazine, perfect and impersonal. This is a real home." They sat at the small kitchen table, talking quietly while Ethan napped. Zara told him about growing up as the only child of workaholic parents, about building her investment firm from scratch against the skepticism of the male-dominated financial world, about the loneliness that sometimes overwhelmed her despite her success. Noah shared stories of his childhood in a working-class family where money was tight, but love was abundant, of meeting Melissa in college and their whirlwind romance, of the devastating car accident that had left him a widower with a toddler to raise alone. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. Ethan eventually woke, groggy and hungry, which prompted an impromptu dinner of spaghetti that Zara insisted on helping prepare. The domestic seen Zara stirring sauce while Noah drained pasta, Ethan setting the table with plastic dinosaur placemats, felt surreal, yet somehow right. After dinner, when Ethan asked if Miss Z could read his bedtime story, Noah saw something shift in Zara's expression, a softening, a longing for the simple joy of reading to a child who trusted her enough to share this sacred nighttime ritual. Later, after Ethan was asleep and Zara was preparing to leave, Noah walked her to the door, feeling a strange reluctance to end the day. "This was perfect," Zara said softly. "Thank you for sharing your world with me." "Thank you for wanting to be part of it, even just for a day," Noah replied. The air between them seemed to thicken with unspoken possibilities. Noah was acutely aware of how close they were standing, of the subtle scent of her perfume, of the way her eyes lingered on his face. "Noah," she began, then hesitated. "I know this is complicated. Our lives are very different. But I feel something here that I haven't felt in a very long time, maybe ever." His heart raced at her words, at the vulnerability she was showing him. "I feel it too," he admitted. "But Zara, I come with responsibilities, limitations. Ethan will always come first. My life will never have the freedom or luxury that yours does." "I know that," she said, "and it's part of what draws me to you, your dedication, your values, the way you love your son." She took a deep breath. "I'm not asking for promises or declarations, just openness to seeing where this might lead." Noah studied her face, searching for any hint of hesitation or doubt. Finding none, he slowly leaned forward, giving her plenty of time to pull away if she wanted to. She didn't. Instead, she met him halfway, her lips soft against his in a kiss that was gentle yet electric, tentative yet filled with promise. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, Noah felt as though something fundamental had shifted in his universe. "I should go," Zara whispered, though she made no move to leave. "You should," he agreed, equally motionless. Finally, with evident reluctance, she stepped back. "I'll call you tomorrow," Noah nodded. "I'd like that." After she left, Noah stood in his quiet apartment, touching his lips where hers had been, wondering if he was being foolish to open his heart and potentially Ethan's to someone whose world was so different from their own. Yet he couldn't deny the connection he felt with Zara, stronger than anything he'd experienced since losing Melissa. It wasn't the same, nothing could ever replicate his first love, but it was real and powerful in its own right. As he checked on Ethan one last time before going to bed himself, he watched his son sleeping peacefully, clutching the fire truck that had, improbably, brought Zara into their lives. "What do you think, buddy?" he whispered. "Should we take a chance?" Ethan's only response was a soft snore, but Noah found himself smiling anyway. Sometimes life presented unexpected paths just when you thought all your choices were set in stone. Perhaps this was one of those moments, a fork in the road that could lead somewhere wonderful if he was brave enough to follow it. Over the next few weeks, Zara became a frequent presence in Noah and Ethan's lives. She joined them for pizza movie nights, helped Ethan with a kindergarten project on tall buildings, and even attended his t-ball game, cheering as loudly as any parent when he made it to first base. For Noah, watching Zara integrate herself into their routine with such care and enthusiasm was both heartwarming and terrifying. He couldn't help the small voice of doubt that whispered warnings. She'll get bored eventually. This is a novelty for her. She'll realize your worlds are too different and walk away. Yet, each time that voice grew too loud, Zara seemed to intuitively sense his fears and do something to quiet them, like the night she canceled an important business dinner, because Ethan had a fever and Noah needed help. She had arrived at their apartment with children's fever medicine, homemade soup from a deli she knew Noah liked, and a new soft dinosaur plushie for Ethan. The three of them had spent the evening on the couch. Ethan dozed between them while they watched cartoons, Zara periodically checking his temperature and adjusting the cool cloth on his forehead. It was domestic and ordinary and perfect. "You didn't have to miss your dinner," Noah had said as they cleaned up after Ethan finally fell asleep. "Yes, I did," Zara had replied simply. "You needed me. He needed me. The clients will reschedule." That night had been a turning point for Noah, the moment he truly began to believe that what was growing between them might be real and lasting. For Zara, the relationship was transformative in ways she hadn't anticipated. The driven executive, who had once measured her days in deals closed and assets acquired, now found herself eagerly looking forward to kindergarten art shows and weekend trips to the park. Her colleagues noticed the change in her. She still worked with the same sharp intelligence and dedication, but she now firmly enforced boundaries around her time, leaving at reasonable hours, protecting weekends, turning down non-essential travel. "Whatever's happening in your personal life, it suits you," her CFO commented during a meeting. "I've never seen you so balanced." Zara had simply smiled, unwilling to share the precious new reality she was building with Noah and Ethan. It felt too fragile, too special to expose to the harsh judgment of her corporate world just yet. But reality had a way of intruding, as they discovered one evening when Zara took them to dinner at an upscale restaurant to celebrate Noah's promotion to project manager at his construction company. They were enjoying dessert, Ethan adorably struggling to pronounce crème brûlée as he devoured his portion, when a voice interrupted their celebration. "Zara Reynolds, I thought that was you." A sleek, expensively dressed couple had stopped by their table, the woman air kissing Zara's cheeks while the man stood back with a curious expression. "Caroline, Richard," Zara greeted them with a polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "How nice to see you." "It's been ages since you've made an appearance at the foundation galas," Caroline said, her gaze sliding assessingly over Noah and Ethan. "Now we see why." "Allow me to introduce Noah Xander and his son Ethan," Zara said, her voice taking on a protective edge that Noah immediately noticed. "Noah, these are Caroline and Richard Blackstone. Caroline sits on several foundation boards with me." "Charmed," Caroline said in a tone that suggested the opposite. To Zara, she added in a voice just quiet enough that she thought Ethan wouldn't hear, "Really, Zara?" "A construction worker and his child. Is this some sort of charity project?" Noah stiffened, his hand automatically reaching for Ethan's shoulder as his son's smile faltered, making it clear he had indeed heard the woman's cruel words. Before Noah could respond, Zara stood up, her expression glacial. "Caroline, I'm going to pretend you didn't just insult the two people who matter most to me in this world. Noah is a talented architectural designer and project manager whose integrity and work ethic surpass anyone I've met in our social circles. And Ethan is a brilliant, kind child who deserves nothing but respect from adults who should know better. Caroline blanched at the public dressing down. I know exactly what you meant, Zara cut her off. And now, if you'll excuse us, we're celebrating a special occasion and would prefer to do so without further interruption. After the couple retreated, clearly affronted, Zara turned to Noah with apologetic eyes. I'm so sorry. I should have known better than to come here. But Noah was looking at her with something like wonder. The people who matter most to you in this world? He echoed her words. Zara's cheeks colored slightly. Yes, she admitted. Is that... Okay, Noah reached across the table to take her hand. It's more than okay. What does that mean? Ethan piped up, looking between them. Are you and Daddy boyfriend and girlfriend now? Noah glanced at Zara, a question in his eyes that she answered with a small nod and a smile. Yes, buddy, Noah told his son. I think we are. Ethan considered this development with serious concentration before breaking into a wide grin. Good. Because I already told Tyler at school that Miss Z was going to be my new mom someday. Noah choked on his water while Zara's eyes widened in surprise. Ethan, Noah began carefully. We're taking things one step at a time, sweetie, Zara interrupted gently, recovering her composure. But I'm very happy to be your dad's girlfriend for now. Later that night, after dropping Ethan off with Mrs. Gonzalez for a rare sleepover, Noah and Zara returned to his apartment to talk properly about what had happened at dinner. I should have prepared you better for what my world can be like, Zara said as they settled on the couch. People like Caroline, they define value by wealth and status. They can't comprehend relationships based on anything else. And what about you? Noah asked quietly. How do you define value? Zara looked at him intently. I used to think I knew. Success, achievement, influence, those were the metrics I measured myself and others by. But then I met you and Ethan, and I realized how empty those markers really are. She took his hands in hers. Noah, I've built a fortune and a reputation that's the envy of the financial world, but until I met you, I'd forgotten what it feels like to actually live to connect with people on a real, human level. What you've given me is worth more than everything else I've achieved combined. Noah's throat tightened with emotion. Zara, are you sure about this about us? Our worlds are so different. Today was just a small taste of what you might face if we continue this relationship. I've never been more certain of anything, she replied without hesitation. The question is whether you're willing to deal with the complications I bring to the table. The scrutiny, the social politics, the assumptions people will make. Noah thought about it seriously. The incident at the restaurant had been uncomfortable, but what struck him most was how fiercely Zara had defended him and Ethan how unequivocally she had claimed them as important to her. I can handle judgmental socialites if you can handle macaroni art and little league games, he said finally. That sounds like the easiest trade I've ever made, Zara replied with a smile. The conversation shifted then, from the serious to the intimate, as they took advantage of their rare night alone together. Their relationship had been building to this moment for weeks, the physical expression of feelings that had grown steadily stronger with each passing day. Later, lying together in Noah's bed, Zara traced patterns on his chest as she asked, "What are you thinking?" That I never expected this, he admitted. After Melissa died, I thought that part of my life was over, that Ethan would be enough, and he was his, but this. He gestured between them. This feels like a gift I didn't know I was allowed to wish for. I feel the same way, Zara whispered. Like I've been sleepwalking through life, and suddenly woke up when I saw you in that toy store window. They fell silent, content in the quiet intimacy of the moment. Outside, the city continued its endless hum, but in Noah's modest bedroom, a new reality was taking shape, one that defied expectations and crossed boundaries of class and circumstance to forge something real and precious. As summer turned to fall, Noah, Ethan and Zara settled into a rhythm that felt increasingly natural. Weeknight dinners at Noah's apartment, weekend excursions to museums and parks, quiet evenings after Ethan was asleep when Noah and Zara would talk for hours about everything and nothing. Noah introduced Zara to the simple pleasures she'd missed while building her empire homemade ice cream, community street fairs, the satisfaction of assembling IKEA furniture, though she proved hilariously inept at following the instructions, much to Noah and Ethan's amusement. In turn, Zara expanded Noah and Ethan's horizons, taking them to Broadway shows, arranging a private tour of a fire station for Ethan's birthday, and persuading Noah to attend an architectural exhibit that rekindled his passion for design. When Thanksgiving approached, they faced their first major holiday as a unit. Zara had always spent holidays alone or at obligatory industry functions, while Noah and Ethan traditionally joined his parents in New Jersey. "Come with us," Noah urged when Zara mentioned her usual solitary plans. "My parents would love to meet you." Zara hesitated. "Are you sure? Meeting the family is a big step, and I don't want to intrude on your traditions." "You wouldn't be intruding," Noah assured her. "You'd be enhancing them. Besides, Ethan has already told them all about you. My mom calls you the mysterious girlfriend and asks for updates every time we talk." "What have you told her about me?" Zara asked nervously. "The truth," Noah said simply. "That you're brilliant and kind and make us both happier than we've been in a long time." Zara's eyes shimmered with unexpected tears. "And did you tell her what I do? Who I am? You mean the CEO part, or the ridiculously wealthy part?" Noah smiled gently. "I mentioned your job, yes, but to us, that's just what you do, not who you are." That Thanksgiving became a milestone in their relationship. Zara was welcomed into the Xander family fold with warmth and genuine interest. Noah's mother, a retired librarian, bonded with Zara over their shared love of classic literature, while his father, a former electrician, was delighted to discover Zara's unexpected knowledge of circuit design from her college engineering courses. Watching Zara help Ethan make handprint turkeys with his cousins, laughing as colorful paint smeared across her cashmere sweater without a hint of concern, Noah felt a certainty settle in his heart. This was what he wanted not just for now, but for always. That night, after Ethan had fallen asleep in the guest room of Noah's parents' home, Noah found Zara on the back porch, wrapped in a blanket and gazing at the stars. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked, settling beside her on the porch swing. "I was just thinking about family," she replied, leaning against him. "How I'd forgotten what it feels like to be part of one until today." "And how does it feel?" he asked softly. "Like coming home," she whispered. "Like finding a piece of myself I didn't know was missing." Noah took her hand, running his thumb across her knuckles. "I want to ask you something, but I'm afraid it might be too soon." Zara turned to face him, her expression open and unguarded. "Ask me anyway." "Move in with us," he said simply. "Not to my apartment, I know that's too small and impractical. But somewhere new, somewhere that could be ours together. A place where Ethan has a proper yard to play in, where you have space to work when you need to, where we can build a life that combines both our worlds." Zara's breath caught. "Are you sure? That's a huge change for Ethan, for all of us." "I'm sure," Noah said firmly. "Ethan adores you, I love you. We both want you in our lives fully, not just part-time." "You love me," Zara repeated, her voice barely audible. Noah realized he'd never actually said the words before, though he'd felt them for months. "Yes," he confirmed. "I love you, Zara Reynolds, completely and without reservation." Tears spilled down her cheeks as she smiled. "I love you too, both of you, so much it scares me sometimes." "Is that a yes?" Noah pressed gently. Zara nodded. "Yes, but I have a counter-proposal." "I'm listening." "I own a brownstone in Brooklyn that I bought as an investment property," she explained. "It's currently being renovated. I was planning to sell it once the work is complete, but..." "What if we designed the interior together? You have such vision for spaces, Noah. We could create something that reflects all of us, something with room for your designs, my work, and Ethan's energy. Noah considered the idea. It was a generous offer, one that would allow them to create a home together without him feeling like he was simply moving into her world. On one condition, he said finally. Name it. We split the costs of the renovation and maintenance going forward. Seeing her about to protest, he held up a hand. I know I can't match what you can contribute financially, but I need to put in what I can. Partnership means equality, Zara. Different kinds of contributions, but equal commitment. Zara studied him for a moment before nodding. Agreed. And I have a condition of my own. Which is? That you use some of the space as a proper design studio, she said firmly. I've seen your talent, Noah. It shouldn't be confined to late night sketching at the kitchen table after Ethan's asleep. The idea of having a dedicated space to pursue his long-deferred dream was almost overwhelming. I wouldn't even know where to start, he admitted. You start by acknowledging your gift, Zara said. The rest will follow. I believe in you, Noah. It's time you believed in yourself, too. Their kiss sealed the agreement, a promise not just to share a home, but to build a future that honored both their paths while creating something new together. When they told Ethan about their plans the next morning, his reaction was everything they could have hoped for. Does this mean Miss Z will be there every morning and every night? He asked, bouncing on his knees in excitement. That's exactly what it means, buddy, Noah confirmed. And we'll have a bigger place, Ethan continued. With maybe a yard and my own room that I can paint red like a fire truck. Zara laughed. Yes to all of that. Though we might need to discuss just how red the room should be. Ethan launched himself at both of them, his small arms trying to encircle them both in a hug. This is the best Thanksgiving ever. As they embraced, Noah caught Zara's eye over Ethan's head. The love and joy he saw reflected there mirrored his own feelings perfectly. From a chance encounter at a toy store window to this moment of perfect certainty, their journey had been unexpected but undeniably right. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Noah and Zara spent every spare moment at the brownstone, working with architects and designers to create their shared vision. Noah's natural talent for spatial design impressed even the seasoned professionals Zara had hired, and many of his ideas were incorporated into the final plans. By Christmas, the renovations were well underway. They celebrated the holiday in Noah's apartment for the last time, creating new traditions that blended their separate pasts into a shared future. Zara learned to make Noah's family gingerbread recipe, while Noah and Ethan embraced Zara's tradition of reading A Christmas Carol aloud on Christmas Eve. As winter turned to spring, their new home took shape, a harmonious blend of practical family space and elegant design that somehow managed to feel both luxurious and comfortable. Ethan got his red room. A compromise was reached with one accent wall in fire engine red, and the rest in a softer shade. Noah had his design studio with large windows that flooded the space with natural light, and Zara converted a small room off the master bedroom into a meditation space where she could decompress after stressful workdays. In May, almost a year after their first meeting at the toy store, they moved in together officially. The day was chaotic but joyful, with Ethan directing the movers with exaggerated hand signals he'd learned from construction sites, Noah organizing the kitchen with methodical precision, and Zara surprising them both with a hand-painted welcome mat that read the Xander Reynolds family in cheerful colors. That night, after Ethan had fallen asleep in his new room, surrounded by carefully arranged fire trucks and dinosaurs, Noah found Zara on their rooftop terrace, gazing at the Brooklyn skyline. Happy? He asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Beyond words, she replied, leaning back against his chest. I keep thinking about how different my life was a year ago. All work, no real connections, no real joy. And now, Noah prompted. Now I have everything that matters, Zara said simply. A man who loves me for who I am, not what I own. a child who brings more joy to my days than I ever thought possible. A home that feels alive with love and laughter. Noah turned her in his arms so they were facing each other. The spring night was mild, the air scented with the potted herbs they'd planted together last weekend. In the glow of the string lights they'd hung, Zara looked radiant, relaxed, and happy in a way that still amazed him sometimes. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you," he said, suddenly serious. "I've been waiting for the perfect moment, and I think this is our first night in our new home, under the same stars that were watching when we first met." Zara's breath caught as Noah reached into his pocket and drew out a small box. "I want you to know that I bought this myself," he said with a smile. "No shortcuts, no compromises, just like everything else that matters." He opened the box to reveal a ring not ostentatiously large or flashy, but a beautifully designed emerald-cut diamond set in platinum, with tiny sapphires that matched Ethan's birthstone embedded in the band. "Zara Reynolds," Noah said, his voice steady despite the rapid beating of his heart. "You walked into our lives because of a toy fire truck and a skipped lunch, and you've made everything brighter, warmer, and more full of possibility than I ever dreamed possible. Ethan and I love you beyond measure. Will you marry me? Will you make our family official?" Tears spilled down Zara's cheeks as she nodded emphatically. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes to all of it. To you, to Ethan, to our family. Yes." As Noah slipped the ring onto her finger, they both noticed a small figure in pajamas watching from the doorway. "Ethan," Noah called gently. "Come here, buddy." Their son padded over, his eyes wide as he looked at the ring on Zara's finger. "Is Miss Z going to be my mom now? For real?" "If that's okay with you," Zara said, kneeling to his level. Ethan's face broke into a radiant smile. "It's the most okay thing ever." He threw himself into their embrace, and the three of them stood together under the stars. A family forged not by blood or obligation, but by choice and love, and the beautiful serendipity of being in the right place at exactly the right time. Epilogue: 5 years later, Dad. Mom. "Hurry up or we'll be late," Ethan called from the foyer, his 11-year-old impatience in full force. "Lily's already in the car." Noah exchanged an amused glance with Zara as they gathered the last of their things. "Remind me again when our son became the timekeeper of this family." Around the time he decided being late to his sister's first day of preschool would be a mortal sin, Zara replied, checking her bag for her phone and keys. Through the window, they could see their 3-year-old daughter already buckled into her car seat. Her dark curls so like Zara's bouncing as she played with the firefighter doll Ethan had given her from his own cherished collection. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years, Noah said softly, pulling Zara into a quick embrace before they joined the children. "Sometimes it feels like just yesterday we were moving in here. And sometimes it feels like we've always been together," Zara replied, kissing him lightly. "Like there was never a time when you and Ethan weren't part of my life." The years had brought changes both expected and surprising. Noah had launched his own architectural design firm, specializing in family-friendly, sustainable housing, with Zara as his first investor. His innovative approaches had quickly gained attention in the industry, and he now employed a staff of 12, including 2 other single parents he'd specifically recruited for their talent and perspective. Zara had gradually restructured her investment firm to focus more on ethical businesses and community development projects, finding deeper satisfaction in work that aligned with the values she and Noah shared. She had also scaled back her hours, making family dinners and Ethan's soccer games non-negotiable priorities. Their wedding, held in the backyard of Noah's parents' home with Ethan as the best man, had been intimate and joyful, a celebration of the family they'd created rather than a society event. The arrival of Lily 2 years later had completed their family circle in ways none of them had anticipated, with Ethan embracing his role as big brother with protective devotion. "Mom, Dad," Ethan's voice broke through their moment of reflection. "Seriously, Lily's first day, We can't be late. Coming, coming, Noah called back, taking Zara's hand as they headed toward the door. On the entry table sat a glass display case containing a now worn red fire truck, preserved like the precious artifact it was. Beside it stood a framed photo of Noah and Ethan outside the toy store window, captured unknowingly on Zara's phone that fateful day. Sometimes the smallest sacrifices lead to the greatest gifts. A skipped lunch, a toy fire truck, a moment of recognition between two souls from different worlds. These were the ordinary miracles that had created their extraordinary life together. As they joined their children in the car, surrounded by the happy chaos of backpacks and lunch boxes and excited chatter, Noah caught Zara's eye across the center console. "Worth it?" he asked quietly, a reference to their long-running private joke about whether their unconventional path had been worth the occasional raised eyebrows and cultural adjustments on both sides. Zara's smile was radiant as she glanced at their children in the rearview mirror and then back at the man who had taught her the true meaning of wealth. "Every single moment," she replied. "Best investment I ever made." And as they drove toward Lily's first day of school, the morning sun illuminating their path forward, they were secure in the knowledge that some fortunes can't be measured in dollars, only in love, in family, and in the courage to recognize true value when it appears in the most unexpected places.